This is the 29th of April, and it's an interesting day in this journey of 365 days of observing the Mother Mary images and her miracle stories that go with each image of each day. And there are all kinds of stories, whatnot. But I had this dream, and I was told to look at each story each day, and so today I do Course of Love class, and in the class we're on chapter 18, which is on observation, and it starts out saying, "You may wonder, rightly then, how those who have not learned by the Holy Spirit will learn. They will now learn through observation. Let us return to the concept of observation and link it with the ideas as we have spoken of them here. Observation, the ability to observe what the self, and this is a capital L self, the higher self, expresses, was part of the original choice for physical form. The word observance has rightly been linked with divine worship and devotion. And then in the next paragraph, the second sentence, it says, observance is linked, cause and effect being one. So there's several ideas that are being brought forth here as I look at them and try to understand them. And one of them is that you have this ability to observe with your higher self. And that when you do this, the right-minded alignment with your higher self has been linked with the divine worship and devotion. So the whole Mother Mary miracle thing and observing her is all about the devotion of people to her, the prayers, and the way that they worshiped her, and her being so masterful. But it's not about an idol. It's not about her out there. It's about what's in here. Because as the quantum physics have told us, the observer and the observed influence each other. They have they inform each other. There's a relationship, and it's the relationship that is so important. And so in this sentence on 18.3, the second sentence, observance is linked to cause and effect being one. It's also kind of like what Eckhart Tolle often speaks about when he says that in the new earth, or the new way of seeing, with it, which is not with the body's eyes, that where you want to label and judge, oh, this is a rose, you're limiting through a concept of the mind construct of this is a rose. He said, rather just say, we call this a rose, and just be present to what is, the beauty, the smell, the all the wonderful things about it. So so for today, let's take a look at who our Mother Mary is. I want to share my screen with you, and we'll see who we have today. Oops. have to learn Italian. So, we're using the Marion apps. It's the Marion calendar. And so you can see the URL up at the top of the https://mcal.marionapps.com. So this is the Blessed Virgin of Ghiara. I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing it right. But in this story, this is a story of the image of the Blessed Mother with her son. And the story is that this young 17-year-old who was not able to speak from his birth was praying before this image that he be given the ability to speak. And so his prayer, the miraculous event, it happened. He received the answer to his prayer, and the remarkable rising of the faithful. There was like all these people who started to have a pilgrimage of a brotherhood began because of the impact of this miracle that happened with this child who was born without speech, and then he was able to have speech through contemplating of the image. So when I go back to this chapter here on observation on chapter 18, what we're seeing that we go into this relationship of observing that is linked with the divine worship and devotion. So this child had this divine worship and devotion to the image of Mother Mary. And later, if you go down to the bottom of chapter 18 in paragraph 18.6, it says, if you observe health rather than disease, abundance rather than poverty, peace rather than conflict, happiness rather than sadness, disease, poverty, and conflict and sadness will be no more real to your brothers than it is to you. So there is a miracle in this being in the state of mind, the state of consciousness of divine worship and devotion, and observing. Here's an expression of the divine. So I'm observing the divine, which is perfect health, perfect wellness, perfect wholeness, right? So on page 333 of A Course of Love, in paragraph 18.8, the second sentence says, you must constantly remember that your observance is now an act of worship and of devotion, and that you are called to observe the truth rather than the illusion, no matter how real the illusion may still seem to be. So at the very bottom, the last sentence, it says you can observe by having the idea of another's health, abundance, peace, and happiness. You can observe this within yourself because it exists within yourself. What exists within you is shared by all. This is the relationship of the truth that unites all beings, all things, and must now become observable. So this is an interesting reflection, I think, about why I've been asked in this dream that I had to simply observe and read the stories of her miracles each day. So it's such an honor to be with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Blessed be.